well, this is Ethan in full view, and I'm glad that you could spare time to be with us. And what you don't know is I've been in this for many years. I'm from an extremely humble background, and you know, I'm privileged to have such an incredible team at Success Africa, where I work at, besides doing motivational speaking and human resource training. Like I coach people from high-level executives to entrepreneurs in 25 countries now. And because I know you're all very busy executives, your leaders, I want to jump into the content right away, and on this particular day and time, to equip you with the skill sets and mindsets, because what worked yesterday when things were well may not apply in today's challenging times. And my heart goes to you, out to you. We've already been affected in one way or the other. But guess what? Leaders step up. Yesterday I was thinking that, you know what? The weak ones step down when there are challenges, and the strong ones step up when there are issues or challenges. So I'm glad that you're stepping up. The fact that you're here, I'm glad that you're stepping up, and I applaud you for that. And as such, let me see how to get back into the screen to make sure that I'm able to share this with you. Okay, just to make sure. Okay, let's see. Share. All right. Okay. You're able to see the slides for now. Let me switch off. I want to switch off the video just for now, and then I can switch on the. Let me just keep it to the slides for now. And if you're able to see the slides, just say I can see the slides. So okay. You can see my screen. Fantastic. So let's rock and roll. So it's about how do we motivate employees during challenging times. And Julia is one of the panelists for the day, so you can chat away. She will be responding. And Julia will give me some of the questions I may need to respond to at the end. I'll have some Q&A. Now, when you look at what's happening, there are a couple of things. These are facts to have at the back of our minds, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, in Africa, over 4.4 million jobs will be lost in the tourism and hospitality industry alone. And some of our clients in that industry, I want to mention them. I've seen them on the list. I know one of our biggest clients, two of our biggest clients are in the hospitality industry, and they are literally shut down, and hundreds of jobs just from those two clients alone. Over 200 jobs already at a standstill as we speak. The overall losses in the labor income are expected in the range of $860 million to 800, I beg your pardon, from 860 to 3,440 billion US dollars. That's what we are talking about, the overall losses. And according to the International Labour Organization, women were already performing more than 3/4 of unpaid care work globally. And now that they are also at home, just think about how they are juggling all this. Before we started this session, I was hearing Julia's daughter in the background. I don't know whether she was scratching out or something. She's expected to deliver at home, and now at work at Success Africa. Now she's at home. There's this other extra strain already, and she's not being paid for that. So for women, it is even more challenging, and therefore, as leaders, we need to keep that in mind to say, look, for the ladies, it is even harder. Not that for men it's much easier, but for women, I beg your pardon, it is way, way more challenging. So that's something you have to keep in mind at the back as a leader. Now, why are these statistics important to us as leaders? Number one is the effects of the crisis are here, and we have to deal with them. I mean, we can't wish them away. They are here, and even if we said, okay, go back to work, already the damage has been like, we will take quite a long haul to get out of this. And employees know about this, and this worries them, and they can't be productive. And I'll be sharing with you some questions that are on their mind right now. If a person is worried, they cannot be productive. Now, given what is happening, some policies might not serve you anymore. Meaning, what worked, say, 90 days ago may not necessarily work right now, because I would tell you that, there are things. I was chatting with a banker yesterday, and he was saying, look, sometimes now I'm able to let people in a bit late, some stuff, because now he knows the challenges there. Some of the job losses may affect a spouse or a relative of your employees. So what I mean by that, so one of your, assuming you have an employee who is still working, now their spouse or a very close relative may have lost a job already and they don't have an income, and that affects them. So if, for example, they were sharing bills at home, which is very typical, if one of them is no longer earning, that affects them emotionally and psychologically. And as such, all these are considerations we have to be aware of. Now, what are your employees faced with at the moment? Because the good news is at Success Africa, we've been in touch with our clients, so we have an idea, we have a glimpse of what's going on. So this is what's happening. They are juggling work and care responsibilities at home, like I had hinted, and there is technology shock for some people. There are people who are not comfortable with technology. And again, I'm happy that some of us, I'm glad that for you, even just as something as basic as you being here on Zoom, there are people who would be terrified. They don't know. They're like, okay, what if I click this and the thing blows in my face? So there are people where it's a huge challenge. So you have to be aware of that. And you have to be cognizant of the same thing, that there are people whereby it's going to be a shock and it will take them a long while before they can switch. Some of them are coping with a loss of income, because I know that some people's salaries have been paused, some have been cut in half, and some of you may be having staff who are not going to earn a penny possibly in the last month or this coming month. There's prolonged stress and deterioration of mental health. Because here is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, we don't know when this thing is going to end. No one has a clear picture about this. And as such, this creates a lot of mental and emotional stress. And may I dare say also, of course, even yourselves, I know it's a challenge, and I'll be telling you about a program we'll be having for leaders in particular. But for now, we are talking about motivating your current employees. And then there's aggravated family strain. And when I say aggravated family strain, I'll give you an example. So if, for example, there were already strains at home, let's say between spouses and children and all that. Now, the fact that people are at home together, that blows up the stress, that blows up the strain. Then if people are not earning enough, they don't have enough to eat or enough, they haven't paid the bills, so to speak, that increases the strain by levels of magnitude. So that becomes an even bigger challenge, so to speak. And then there is uncertainty. People are wondering, what next? Where do I go? What do I need to think about? And all this. Now, the question then is, how then do you keep your employees motivated? And I would like to bring your attention to the motivation quadrant. There are really 4 areas based on our research that we've noticed that people that is really catching their attention. And as such, these are the areas you need to be thinking about. One is personal finances. So people are thinking about survival. How will I survive? And then if you're in the NGO world, and I know we have some participants on this webinar who are from the non-for-profit space, and that is loss of field allowances in the non-for-profit sector and even government agencies. The people depend a lot on field allowances. So they know that per day they are going to pocket a difference. So you find the salary is very basic, but the allowances is where they survive. Now they're like, whoa, now I can't take this anymore. So how am I going to survive? There's dwindling basics of life, whether it is whether someone can have meat or not is an issue, and all that. That's on the personal finances perspective. Now, when you look at family and relationships, there are issues to do with safety. What I mean by that is, I was chatting with one of my colleagues who helped with the presentation, and he was highlighting that, look, based on the findings, is that some people are worried that, okay, if my partner or my colleague at home goes out, how safe are we? And I'll give you a personal experience in that yesterday, like this last week and even this week, I had to really go to the bank. I mean, as a team leader, I had no choice. And my wife was asking me with a concerned look, said that you're going out a lot. So, and I believe the concern was around the safety, meaning, hey, man, can you stay around for our family's safety? And also people are thinking about the medical insurance for the family. And they're also thinking about what if they are unable to meet with loved ones? And when we say unable to meet with loved ones, I mean, already we have situations where people have lost their loved ones and they can't go to be with them. We've had situations whereby, because there's that gap already, limited movement, so already the emotional balance. And I was sharing with one of the biggest challenges I'm seeing, besides the health part actually, is the mental health, because we need that emotional balance to connect with people. Now that the connection is disrupted, that affects people's well-being, and as such, the productivity. And already I was thinking about in that as Success Africa, I see us in the near future creating a product or a service around mental health services. Now, on the lower portion here, where you're saying safety measures and insurance, this is now for the individual. This is about family, but this is about the individual. The individual also thinking about their own safety, and then also thinking about their own insurance. And I'll also be talking about that, how it relates to motivation. And then in the last quadrant, job security. People are asking, okay, what if this persists? What is the way around this? And of course, I had already hinted on that in terms of what's on people's minds, okay? So now let us understand the questions on our employees' minds. What are the questions that they're really asking themselves? And in my view, if you do not answer these questions, then they are still at the back of their mind. They are troubling them. And as such, you may not get the full value of their performance if you don't. These are some of the questions. Will I be able to take care of my family for a long period should the crisis persist? Okay. These are questions you need to think about and find a way to communicate to them and answer. Will I have the basics of life, meaning rent, food, fees? Won't I drain my account at this rate? Meaning if there's a slowdown in income, even the little savings, and never mind there are people who don't have savings at all. They just depend on, every month, month to month or day by day or week by week, depending on what kind of stuff you have. Will my company or organization bail me out? And I will tell you the same thought process, because I was listening to the president. He made a comment in passing saying something along that, look, if you've been affected because of this lockdown, let's say you have a salon, we could bail you out, let's say for a month, but after that, don't come back asking us, say, been affected. And that puts a huge worry in the minds, say, of the business owners. But then the same analogy, if we apply it to an employee who's thinking, well, I could be bailed out this month, but then after this month, if I'm not bailed out, what do I do? Those are questions that I think about. Will I keep my job given these challenging times? I was sharing with one of my executive coaching clients who is in the hospitality industry, and I was telling her that, look, even these people, even though you're keeping them, paying them for this month, they know that the fact that they're at home, not doing anything, that alone puts a huge worry in their mind, in their psyche. They're asking themselves, will I keep my job? The other one is, what if a family member catches the disease? What is the way out? What are the scenarios? What is the worst case scenario? Does my insurance cover this? Now, the good news is one of our clients is actually in the insurance industry, and I saw some of the leaders here. So if you're in the insurance world, these are questions that people are asking themselves. And just as a side tip, I feel the insurance companies need to address this with their clients, to communicate this, because some insurance companies are not talking about this. I overheard some of the leaders saying how they are, some people are not addressing this, but this is a big question on people's minds. So for the benefit of those who in the insurance world whom I've seen on the list attending. All right, so that's the expose for now. And now I want to talk about the meat, and that is the 7 strategies you can deploy to keep your team motivated. And before I go to, because that's the core to give you the strategies, so the key thing is I would like to know, okay, some people are already asking questions that, okay, I've had someone say that, okay, someone is mentioning that one of the companies is covering Corona, but I wouldn't want to mention the companies, that it doesn't look like I am promoting. But I've gotten your comment. We can talk after here offline. So I would like to know, so far, is everything clear? Is this giving you the big picture of where we are at before I move into the actual strategies on how to keep your team motivated? If it is adding value, if it is, so I'm seeing Sarah is saying yes, Winfred saying clear. So you could also say yes. George says clear. Hope says clear. Tukunda says clear. Great. Priscilla says great. Stella says great. Paul Rugambwa says yes, clear. Akash from Philips must be yes. Diana says great, fantastic. Agape. Clear insight, Leonard Mayanja, Juliet, yes, perfectly clear, immaculate. Goretti, Navanoga, good to see you. Great, clear, let us proceed, fantastic. Okay, so now let's go to the 7 strategies you can deploy to keep your team motivated. Right, let's go back to our own presentation here again. Number 1 is what we call the leader's touch. What do I mean? Consultation and collaboration, okay? And what I mean by that is have one-on-one, if possible, with the people that you supervise or manage. Talk about family, understand their fears, understand their anxieties, have a personal touch. Right now, your role is beyond just being a leader and manager. This situation has added another dimension to your role as a leader, and that is counselor and coach. So you have to listen in, and even if you don't have all the answers, just listening in alone, the fact that you care, that alone will show that you care enough. And now, when you show that you care, then people will care about the business, they will care about your dreams, they will care about the goals that you're giving them. So you have to do that. And then the other one is to have periodic team meetings. And that a leader shows up when there is a crisis. So that the key distinction of what makes leaders great is where they stand in moments of crisis. You see, it's very easy to send instructions when things are easy. But I believe it's one of the former US presidents who said that courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of fear. Now, I know as a leader, you have your own fears, you have your own concerns, just like I do as a team leader at Success Africa. But you know what? You still have to show up. And that doesn't clear the fears away, but in spite of the fear, you choose to go ahead and step up and say, I am in, I am here. You raise your hand. So you raise your hand that way. And then I mentioned the periodic team meetings. Because people are now all over the place, so bare minimum, you have to meet on a weekly basis. Now, if you're in a fast-paced industry, let's say banking or insurance or telecoms, daily is even better. For us at Success Africa, because our industry is information and consulting, we are in touch with our clients, so their needs are changing. So we meet on a daily basis to touch base apart from Sunday literally. So we've upped the game to make sure that we meet on a daily basis because it helps to keep the team together. Then the first thing we actually ask when we meet is, how is everyone doing? Your health, we ask about your health, the family, because then you don't know what might have happened. So that again shows a leader's touch, but of course you're connecting, you're showing that you care about people's health and well-being. And trust me, that does not go to waste. People notice these things, how you're responding in the moment. Okay. The second key thing is, let me just take a quick sip of water. The second thing is upfront communication. Napoleon Bonaparte says that a leader is a dealer in hope. So you need to discuss with people about the possible outcomes of the situation, show them your plan for mitigating or minimizing the impact. So for example, what I mean by that is, do not hide away from the realities. But also that does not mean that you hold a totally pessimistic perspective. For example, I had to talk to my team and say, look, guys, this is the situation. And even as Success Africa, we had events canceled, which had been approved because our business is really about meeting people, talking to them in workshops and all this. But then now I told them, look, this is the situation and I do not expect it to end anytime soon, but this is the plan, okay? This is what I believe we can engage in. This is how I believe we can move forward to minimize the impact, and boom, and they have responded very well. So the key thing is, be upfront about it, but also don't be too pessimistic about it. I know sooner rather than later, okay, I shouldn't say soon. I know it will take a long haul, but time will come when this thing will normalize. But in the meantime, what can we do? As a leader, what are you proposing? Because this is life. This is how it happens. And you may also consider a short survey. This is something I highly, highly recommend. You could consider a short survey of your employees to understand their particular challenges so that their teams feel heard. Now, if you're able to do that, this would be extreme. A good number of organizations have done this. And I was actually thinking this morning that if you feel this is a big challenge to you, you could reach out to us. Could send an email, info@success-africa.com. And, we could talk about if you would want us to do that survey for you, because sometimes, usually not sometimes, typically employees would feel more comfortable to share their true feelings to an outside consulting firm rather than their manager or boss, so to speak. So, or leader, I don't like the word boss. So that's something that you're welcome to consider. Chat away with them. What I mean by get their own ideas on how you can emerge out of the situation even better. I will tell you that whereas I made some suggestions, I also gave the team the liberty and opportunity to propose ways, and we have many ideas in terms of things we'll be doing. And I'll tell you, for example, just the idea of this webinar to be able to serve our community, to serve our people. This webinar idea came from one of our staff members, and here we are. This wasn't my own idea. So what you do is you sit down with them and you propose and say, look, what can we do? And let them generate ideas, and don't be too quick to edit. Let them brainstorm and then agree on the way forward as a team. Okay. Number 3 is family care support. What I mean by that is adopt family-friendly working arrangements, and that might mean, can you support people with basics like groceries for one of the weeks? It could be 200K one for people to stock some basics. Again, I know that depending on your situation, some organizations, some of us on this webinar, or if you're watching a recording, you may not be in position to do that. But if you are able to, if you have the resources, this will be a big time motivator. Even if it's 100,000, it would, trust me, it motivates people. So if you're able to support people with such basics. Now, when I also talk about adopt family-friendly working arrangements, it means, for example, you might find that for a particular person, working early may not work for them because they have to wake up and prepare meals for the children or for the family. So if your work always starts so early, then it won't work for them. But if you just set targets and say, by the end of the day, this is what I want achieved, then someone can work later in the night or extremely early on time. Because I will tell you, one of the companies I know in this, in Uganda, it is an international company. It literally puts people on tenterhooks to make sure that they are logged on online during the whole working time frame. In my view, that doesn't augur well. Okay, so just because I've logged on online, that doesn't mean that I'm available. Of course, there could be industries where you must be online, but I'm saying if your working arrangement allows people to have that flexi time, it makes a big difference to people to know, you know what, at least so long as I achieve my outcomes or goals, then I'm in. Okay. Then the other thing is to, okay, I've talked about the flexible working arrangements. Then also think about, can your insurance take up one more family member for exceptional people? Some organizations have taken that route. If you know, for example, that you have one of your superstars, then that superstar could get that extra benefit as an extra bonus. It could be an extra family member. I don't know, it could be the nanny, or it could be that because your insurance cover could be covering, let's say, 3 children or 4 children. They could have the 5th child if they have more children, as an example. Now, let's talk about financial mitigation. And depending on the ability and policy, consider a salary advance. So if you have the resources, a salary advance would make a big difference. And this is what I mean. So what I mean by that is you'll notice that people feel like they need to stock basics ahead of time, and they may not have all the resources to be able to do that in time or in due time. But when you give them a salary advance, then that is able to facilitate that opportunity for them to stock the food, the basics that they really desire at home. You could also get them a financial coach or counselor, because right now people are stretched financially. So what you could do, for example, is you could find a counselor and you get them on a retainer. And if you want to have something like that, we could arrange something. We have some associates who are counselors, for example, or you could find one who you are very comfortable with. But So what you do is you could have a counselor on a retainer and say, by the way, our team, we know we are going through challenging times. We know besides giving them advice, let's say on finances or just life in general, please, they can call you any time of the day. We have 40 or 50 or 200 staff. How much would you charge us for per month? Then you have them on a retainer, and then you pass on them. You communicate to your team, say, by the way, in case you need any third-party advice, someone you can talk to in confidence, here are the contacts. I can guarantee you that tip alone, if you may whatever that investment you would have put in there, that would be extremely huge in terms of motivating these people. So that's a huge tip I would highly encourage you to consider. The other one is to form buddy groups for people to share how they are managing their finances. There are people who are excellent at managing money. I know at Success Africa, we have two of our team members who are good at that. And they sometimes share those tips on how they are managing. So, encourage people. Say, hey, please feel free to form these buddy groups to share on how you're managing finances, how you're managing your psychology, how you're managing your emotions. So this could be besides or in addition to finances. It would be very, very useful. Then we also know, according to our research, that there are those in the field who are stuck, they can't move. Now, if resources allow, it would be useful to consider a risk allowance, because truth is they are in a risky situation or environment, so to speak. So consider that in due course if the budget allows. I know some organizations it may not allow. Okay. Then think about emergency child care funds. Again, that is if you have the resources, that would be very, very useful, so to speak. And the number 5 is give safety materials, sanitizers, masks, even for family members. That would be helpful to know. I know that for my wife's place of work, they did that. They gave them some sanitizers and masks, which is fantastic. So please think about that safety, a safety mind. I beg your pardon, have a safety mindset in place. So just give me one. Okay, sorry about that. Had to sort out something for a minute. So think about the safety, and if you're able to do some actions to help people in a way, that would help a lot. Just again to make sure that we are together. Just before I give you the other 2 tips. Okay. So the key is. Okay, someone is saying, have you lost Ethan? So are you able to see me again? I was off like for 30 seconds. Are you able to hear me now? Is everything still okay? You can just type in and say, yes, we can hear you now, just for me to be, okay, yep. Agape says, yes, okay, fantastic. Then number 6 is company policies. Now, this is very important because the company policies are very critical. Now, review existing workplace policies to ensure they provide sufficient support to workers and their families. Look at them. Again, I'm not going to specify rules and procedures for you here, because again, I know our circumstances are different. There are some, because I'll tell you, one of my friends who is in the hospitality industry told me about 2 years ago that for him, he always makes sure he has a buffer for a year's salaries, and meaning for him, he can survive at least for 12 months without paying a penny. Now, for such a person, his policies are going to be different. So people are going to be paid normally, no disruptions and all that. And that's a lesson for us also to be thinking about. How do we think about buffer zones for our organizations? But so think about that. What can you do? Look at your policies. Do these policies provide sufficient support? Because I'll tell you, there are some companies whereby if you don't appear to work, for example, for 2 days, then you're fired. And I'll tell you, there are people already who are working from home and they don't have power for a full day. I know I've had those situations. I've had those situations to deal with myself. So think about flexible work output deadlines. I had hinted on that. So focus on output more than the number of hours. Then relax deadlines a bit. A few more days, if that allows, a few more hours. If you're just like, this must be, otherwise you'll be kicked out of here. Well, my friend, that in this sort of environment may not necessarily apply. And of course, I know that there are industries where, you must follow deadline to the beat. If you're in the health industry or you're working in security or something, there are those particular moments. I'm not saying this applies to all across the board. I'm saying if there is room, because again, the reason why you need to be a bit more flexible is people are dealing with a lot on their minds and in their emotions. So you need to be aware of that, because if you are not, then you're not giving them the bandwidth to respond. So you need to look at this and think, okay, what else can we provide? It might even mean that if you were not, for example, you could have been having a particular, I'll give you something very simple to consider. It could mean, for example, you were rationing data per day and you knew, okay, data per day is this much. But now, because people are working from home, they have so many online meetings, therefore the data requirements have gone dramatically high. So what you had as a policy, as company policy in terms of MBs, for data that was applicable 90 days, even 30 days ago, it's not applicable now. People require a lot of data. Okay. Number 7, weekly online meetings, keeping people's faces. Don't make them feel that they are abandoned. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is if you don't keep in touch, then people are going to get concerned. And I know I had hinted on this, but even better, do it daily. If you can do it daily, even better. I know that one of our staff members at Success Africa mentioned that for them, they have a daily family meeting online just to keep in touch, just know what's happening. And of course, train your employees to use online tools. So don't just give them, say, Microsoft Teams or Zoom. And by the way, Zoom is a good tool. And in future, if you would want us to do a training for different online tools, and we also have a firm we collaborate with, and they are excellent at that. If that is something that you feel could be useful for your team to do a training on that, of course, it would have an investment. Please let us know. You could leave your contacts with the panelists or send an email, info@success-africa.com. We could arrange that, because that's a huge need right now as we speak, because there are people who will not even appear on online meetings, not because they don't want, but because they don't know how to use these tools. So that is a need at Success Africa that we see moving forward. So if you're open, that's something we could talk about to see how to arrange specifically training. Let's say the good thing with a tool like this, Zoom, we can demonstrate things online. And like I said, there is a company we collaborate with, and they are top notch on this end, and we have some members on our team who are also tech savvy to help you with this. But this is an extremely essential tip to get people, because if you're expecting them to deliver and yet they do not have the platform or the tools to actually do this, then it's going to be a big challenge for them. So you need to think about, how do we train our team to make sure that they are able to use these tools? Because when you do that, then it helps a lot in terms of them feeling, okay, I am empowered, I can now move on. And just getting that extra skill, because skills development is something that always motivates people big time. Okay, so just I want to, before we move on, before I open it up for Q&A, I would like you to share what are you going to do with that is within your reach to motivate your employees at this critical moment. So I would like you to think through, and it would be good for you to type in the message. You can write it down, but ideally that would be good also for you to type it in and say, you know what, I am going to do this based on what Ethan has shared, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. And then I will tell you also what next. How can you take this to another level before I open it up for Q&A? And please stay online, because there is something else I know I would like to. Okay, I can see Winfred says a one-on-one meeting. Good, Winfred, that would be very useful. Winfred Akelo, wherever you are, that would be fantastic. And one-on-one, of course, open communication is currently being encouraged. Good, that's what someone. So please type away. I want to know where you are at. You know, we are actually, so at VFU, we are currently having the weekly meetings. That's good. We have one today at 11. Fantastic. Keep the communication lines open. Miriam says, Priscilla says, weekly check-ins. Fantastic. And by the way, if you stay around, we will also tell you how you can access these slides. So please stay at the end so that we tell you. Okay, calling to check on staff, Juliet, viral meetings, online counseling, Priscilla, regular feedback, Miriam is saying. Going to have Isabella, a meeting on Microsoft Teams. Yeah, sometimes we use it at Success Africa. Periodic contacts by Shama, good. Keep in touch with team members who are currently not at home, fantastic. Daily, give more data, fantastic. And someone is a medical support by Moses, good. Heads of departments to have one-on-one. Yes, heads of departments, please challenge them. Share these tips with them. Counseling and going to check on staff. Good, Natalie. Rita says check on teams daily. One-to-one meetings, sharing on updates. Meditation sessions by Julia Twere is suggesting. That's fantastic. That's a great idea. Regional meetings as soon as applicable, Sarah says. Meetings are ready, but they just had one this morning. Fiona says. Good. Yeah, I would like to know your thoughts. Allow members flex their working hours, because as you're saying these things, it might also alert people on what they can do. I crave for the tips you have shared at the place I'm employed. Julie, if you're welcome to send an email, we could arrange such a session, by the way. That's a good tip. We could arrange such a session, and then we talk to your team members or your leaders. We could arrange it online, so you could send your contacts, and then we reach out to you. Make a contribution towards electricity bills. Joyce, that's fantastic. That would be great. Apply flexible working hours. Fantastic. Upfront, be a dealer in hope. Barbara, that's good. Rebecca, check on team members frequently. That's good. Ensure that they're in touch and brief each other on what's new. Good. Have to sign off shortly. Check. Okay. One major check. All right. Cool. So I just I've noticed one of the members how some of us need to get SMT on board on these steps. And by the way, Martin, we could also talk to your team. WhatsApp groups I've seen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up for just and again, like I said, if you start to the end, I'll show you how we can access these slides and also tell you something else. But I would like to open it up for Q&A, just in case you have a question. You can type in. Julia, you could see if you're able to let me see. So there should be a way for you to raise your hands on the board. So Julia, let me see. Julia, you can brief the team on how they can have Q&A if you want to speak loud, but you could also send a message to, if you have any particular question, you could type it in, or you could raise your hand. Juliet says, so I have to sign up. Juliet, yeah, please, you can leave your, if you want to just leave your contacts and all that, we can see how to reach out to you, okay? And will you be kind enough to share the slides with us? Sheila, yeah, we'll tell you at the very end how we can share these slides with you. So just so you know. Now, so in terms of moving forward, just for some of us who have to run away, just to tell you in terms of things that will happen, and then I can open it up for Q&A. Those of you who want to hang around and stay, and I engage you more, and then I tell you how to access the slides. Let me tell you a few things moving forward. So please, kindly participate in a vital research. There are 3 researches going on that we are carrying on as Success Africa. We are doing research for managers and leaders. So you might be called, since we have some contacts for some of you. If we don't some of your contacts and you want to participate in this research and you haven't been called yet, you could leave in the chat box, say, please call me, I want to participate in this research, to know what are you going through, how can we be of service, what is challenging you, what is working, what's not working. So you could be called. If you want to participate and you haven't received a call yet, please let us know. We are also, if you're an entrepreneur, we also have a research going on for entrepreneurs. I know we have some of them. Like I saw Goretti online, she's one of the entrepreneurs. So you will also be called. So we also have specifically for business owners. And then we are also doing research for employees. So you will receive email. Once you receive this email, I'm sure all of you should be able to receive the one for the employees. Please share with your team right away and immediately. So because then the more data we have, the more we can actually advise you on how to deal with these employees. We've done our own research a bit. That's what informed some of this content, but we are doing a deeper research, reaching out to more organizations. So if you receive an email, kindly share it widely, because the more data we have, the better. Now, I know some of you were asking me, I've had some clients whom I've been engaging with before, and they were saying, okay, but Ethan, how do we manage all this? Can you help us? Can you provide something in this regards? And that tells me that, look, we are going to create, we have developed a program which we are calling Leading Powerfully Amidst a Crisis. Because here we are talking about you just motivating leaders, but motivating employees, but that's just a piece of it. Leadership is much broader than just motivating employees, but you as a leader, you also have your own needs. So in this particular program, which will be running beginning next week, and I'll tell you the dates, is we'll be looking at understanding the crisis, what great leaders do in different phases of a crisis, profiling the fears and challenges of your team amidst a crisis. How do you get to know what they are? And we'll also talk about establishing the firm's positions, tools for the prepared leader. What are those tools you need as a leader? Then we'll also talk about key competencies for leading powerfully amidst crisis, because the competencies when things are right are different competencies when there is a crisis. We'll also talk about a framework for crisis communication during this particular program. And you'll be able to receive a workbook and a certificate. And of course, it could be you and also other members of your team. And this is going to happen next week, 15th to 16th April. We are looking at 9 a.m. to 10:30. If you're not able to attend live, the good thing is that it will be recorded. And if technology allows us, even this, we are recording it and we'll share it with you. So just know, in case you're not able to attend, this is still recorded and you're able to attend. And so these are the, if you're one person, it's $100. If it is 3 people, it is $250. If it is 5 people, it is $400, meaning from an organization. If it's more than 5 people, it's $600. Now, here is a special offer for you, because for those who are able to act quickly, we always recommend that if you pay by 5 p.m. today, you get 50% off. Okay. If you pay by 5 p.m. tomorrow, then you get 30% off, meaning if you pay by end of today, instead of paying $100, you pay $50. You can pay in dollars or in Uganda shillings equivalent, and the numbers are on the screen at the bottom. If you want to do a bank transfer, these are our bank details. If you want to send mobile money, you can. Mobile money, it should show up as Julia for these numbers we've put there to send in the money. So if you have to pay after Thursday, then you have to pay full price, whatever the amount is. We typically charge much more than this, as I know some of the people on this call are my high-level coaching clients, and they know I charge way, way more. I'll be the team leader, I'll be the lead facilitator, and of course we have other facilitators on board at Success Africa, like Pamela, who have over 20 years experience in this. So please go right ahead, and you could also send an email, or you could call Julia on those numbers if you have more questions about this. And we could also do just a customized session just for your team, something like this, which we've just talked about, because people are saying, oh, we wish we could share this with our members. Yes, we could talk just to your leadership and management team and supervisors about just the segment for motivating during challenging times, or we could have a full-blown leading in a crisis as is for now. All right, so that's, let me open it up for Q&A now. If you have any questions, Julia, are there hot questions? I can see some people are leaving their phone numbers. Yeah, sure enough. So you can leave your phone number, say, please call me about this, and then we can reach out to you, either Julia or Kabgo or Pascal or Pamela, some of the other consultants can. Someone is saying, kindly send me the details of particulars on the course by mail so I can approach my boss for the payments. That's Martin. Okay, fine. Just Martin, since just in case there are more Martins on this call, kindly type in your email and phone number, and then someone will reach out to you. Let me see. Let's still do. Okay, so
Ethan,
yes,
we have some
Julia.
questions.
Yes, please.
Well done. We have some questions here.
Yeah.
And someone, Monica Emiru Enha, this last name, Enyao, yeah. I think.
Yes.
How does one deal with partners or donors who are insisting on timesheets and questioning the amount of work staff are doing? Wow.
That's a fantastic question, and I do not have, a concrete answer given the circumstances and dynamics. But this is what I would propose off cuff here, because I saw that coming, because one of our clients was also raising that. So this is what I would propose. Number one, you say, look, this is the situation. We are in a lockdown. The president decreed that no one is allowed to move during this period, and say, look, we would love to work, and we are very keen. We are training our team. We are keeping in touch with them. We are keeping in touch with our partners and collaborators to make sure they know what's going on. We are seeing how we can best serve our people online, those we can serve online, those whom we can't. We are in touch with them. We are calling people, telling them what's going on. And then we guarantee you that the moment things go back to normalcy, we will be able to do these timesheets and all that. But for now, this is what is going on. Okay, that's one. Then two, the other thing I would encourage you to think about is, without movement, what can you do in the meantime? And Julia, can that lady talk about what they do, the industry they are in, because I could have some ideas in terms of what they could do. Because then you could also ask yourself, okay, if there is a lockdown, what tangible things can we do that is productive? For example, it might mean you do research. online, on phone, on email, whatever that is. But then the donors know that you're at least doing something productive. And it's not just for the donors, but for you in your industry. So you have to open your mind, in a wider way, start to ask yourself, what else can we do that is productive, that can add value? For example, I'm thinking if I was helping a certain cluster of people, let's say on reproductive health, and there are certain things I need to reach out to them. It might mean that you deploy your team, and each team member has to call, say, 6 people per day, giving them tips and trainings. At the funds you were pushing towards, say, transport, now those funds are channeled to airtime bundles, a lot of data, and people are being trained on particular tips and tricks on how to move forward. So you just need to think at that level in terms of what can I do if I'm not able to go to the field. So when you do that, then you can then also find a way, how do I report this per day? And that becomes a timesheet. The new timesheet is not you going to the field. The new timesheet is the people you're talking to. Joeria, I'm seeing you're saying you're not hearing me clearly. So I've seen Priscilla is suggesting also the focus shouldn't be on timesheets, but rather on delivery of expected outputs in this crisis. That needs to be the focus. Also confirm who is on leave and who is at work and what their expected outputs are. That's a brilliant contribution, Priscilla Mwanda. Then Michael Timugaya is suggesting adoption of technology to provide visibility for both the donor and yourself. We have customized tools that help schedule tasks and can track progress. So Michael, you could share with us your contacts and all that, because part of what we may do in the future is to have a community where we keep training leaders and we could share, say, those tools. And if you're comfortable sharing the list of the tools which you found very useful, you could type them out and I read them out to the person or to the team. Because again, this is like a typical workshop, only that it's online, and as such, we can always share. Julia, which other critical question did you pick up?
Yes, we have 4 more questions.
Okay.
This is Joseph Chove. How do you break the news when you are sure the organization won't survive this period?
That is who? That is who again?
Joseph Chove.
Joseph Chove. Okay, so this is how I would go about it. And I know we'll go a little deeper in communicating amid this crisis. And Julia, you can highlight that question when we are doing the program next week, because I know that's a big question. But I'll give you some quick tips, Joseph. Number 1 is the timing, okay? So you need to find a time and day, say, look, we have some very important updates that we need to give you tomorrow or whichever the time is. So when they say critical updates, okay, that are pertinent to our future, something like that. So you're giving them, you're mentally preparing them mentally and emotionally that there are some critical and extremely important updates that are very pertinent to our future of work and as an organization. Then that will put people in the zone of, okay, what do I need? Okay, what is coming up or what is showing up? So let me see if I can also switch on some videos that you're able to see me. Okay, so for me, that would also be very important in terms of, so you prepare people mentally and emotionally that critical updates coming up. Then the other thing then you do is say, look, this is how I would frame the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I know number 1, I want to appreciate 1, 2, 3 things that we've done up until now. I really appreciate ABCD. This is the impact we've created. This is the value we've provided in the marketplace. And unfortunately, so first of all, you appreciate what they are doing or what they have done, so they see the value that you provided over That's how they know that you value them. And then towards the end, say, look, unfortunately, this is what's happening. These are the facts. The facts are we are not able to generate money. These are because the donors cannot support us anymore. And unfortunately, in this time period, I see us closing. Now, having said that, we need to think about the way forward. So you could say, okay, given what's happening and what is coming up, what else do you think we can do in the meantime or to prepare our exit gracefully? And by that, Success Africa, we've prepared many organizations on exit and closure because since 2008, that's been happening. Only that now it's going to be accelerated. So once you do that, then say, unfortunately, this is what's happening. So and the plan is we are going to do A, B, C, D. We'll do recommendation letters, we'll pay you this amount of money, we will, and we also providing a counselor that would be very useful for you to have. We'll provide a counselor to whom you can talk to, and at Success Africa, we can help provide that. We can also provide a consultant for this to talk to you. That is if it's available. If not, please don't promise what's not there. And say, and I'm also available to talk to you one-on-one to see how best we can work through this. So that's how you communicate it. Show empathy, but also be available for the post, because then the post losing the job is a challenge. Say, and in future, I'm available to recommend you. If you apply for a job, use me as a recommendation. I'm willing to recommend you A, B, C, blah, 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 like that. So I hope that's helpful. Can I hear the other question, Julia? And Joseph, if that's helpful, you can type in the chat and say, yes, that's clear. Julia, was that Carlos Joseph? Because I've seen another question out.
No, that was Joseph Chove.
Joseph Chove, okay. And
yes.
I'm seeing another question from Carlos Joseph. How do you support ex-employees who you have laid off due to lack of sustainable funding? So that's a good question, Joseph. There are a couple of things you can do. One is give them support in terms of coaching them for interviews. I know there's one organization that hired us to prepare their employees. We did it at 2 levels. One was to prepare those who wanted to go for jobs. We prepared them for interviews, and some of them actually got jobs. And then 2, we prepared those who want to do business out there in the marketplace, so to speak. So we prepared them, also gave them a tip, or we gave them a package on how they can do business. First of all, Julia, do you think I should stop the sharing of the slide and I just go into full video mode, or I should leave the slide there? Okay, can I hear the second question,
let's
Julia?
leave the slide. We have some related questions.
Okay.
There is a question here asking about how long the leading powerfully amid this crisis is going to be, and for how many days.
Okay, so for now it's 2 days, but in case by the second day it's not complete, then we'll stretch it to the 3rd day, Friday. So it will be running from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And in case you're not able to attend live again, we will be able to record the session. Yeah, what else, Julia?
There's a question here from Fiona, which I'll answer quickly. Fiona Namayanja is asking, she has a comment that she has noticed her staff are getting stressed with the whole working from home, along with family disturbances.
Yeah.
She wanted to get a mental health coach or counselor, and it is still a challenge given the lockdown. How can she help her staff in this regard? Fiona, we can talk more about this. Kindly share with us your phone number just now, and we will reach out to you after this call. Yeah. There is another question.
And Julia, I would say phone number and email, okay? And what the question is, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And just as a tip for the rest of the members who are still online here, is in future we are planning to do a program specifically for people in general. How do you work productively while still at home, because that's a huge need that we've noticed. So most likely the week after is something we will run a program around that, because there are also dynamics around that. And I'm seeing like there are some participants who are raising their hands. So Julia, you can manage those. First, give me those questions, then we can, I know there are some participants who have raised their hands. Yeah, actually 4. So go ahead, Julia.
Okay. George Ondu says there seems to be a thin line between encouragement and motivation, especially during crisis. Please elaborate with reference to subordinate staff management.
Okay, now that's a technical and very smart question at the same time. Julian, okay, so this is what I would say, motivation and encouragement. So encouragement is just really about giving someone some bit of hope to continue going. Okay, they are meaning because discouragement is from the word courage, so they are discouraged. They no longer have the courage to move on. And Julius Goretti has a question in Q&A, so you can pick it up and then you alert me. So encouragement is really about giving people that extra hope to continue till another time, until tomorrow, so to speak. So they are discouraged. Now, motivation is really about looking at both inner, is what we call intrinsic motivation, and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic is those reasons within that will keep you on the journey to keep pushing and going for the goal. Now, I'll give you a practical example. I'll say something along the lines of, look, we are in this together, and as such, we would want to, I know when we signed up for this, we wanted to, for example, let's say I'm speaking to a team of people who work in the non-for-profit space. Could say, we signed up for this because we wanted to make a difference in the world. We wanted to transform girls, wanted to transform children. And guess what? Those girls, those children are still there. So we have to find a way, okay, to still serve those people. Now, that's not encouragement, that's motivation. I'm calling upon their intrinsic level, their inner being, okay? And so when you do that, then you are able to call upon people the full force of their being to forget what's going on and focus on what is happening at this stage, at this moment. Now, extrinsic could be for example, the buying of groceries, the 100K or 200,000, whatever the budget allows, that is external. But it speaks volumes. It is saying, I care about your being. I care about your health. I care about your family. That's not encouragement. That's motivation. But now encouragement could be, you know what? I'm really feeling like this thing is not going to work out. Now, there you need to encourage them. I hope that's clear. Julia? Let me see. I know that, so as I wait for Julia, how does one, okay. So Goretti is asking a very powerful question, that most of the suggestions presented have financial implications. How would you handle when your resources are already constrained? Goretti, that is a very, very practical and tangible question. So if the resources are strained, I really believe in, and the culture I've found very useful that I encourage at Success Africa is truly open communication. So I know, for example, and I know Goretti is in the hospitality industry. So I know that is one of the most hard hit, if besides health, in my view, besides health, it is the hospitality industry that is most hard hit. So this is how I would look at it. Number one is to genuinely look at people in the eyes, tell them, look, guys, I would really love to care for you. I know your needs. I know your strength. I know this is the situation that you really, this has been your livelihood. But look, the doors are closed. And I would wish to do A, B, C, D for you. I wish I could give you a salary advance. I wish I could give you extra bonuses. Or I wish I could pay you full salary next month. But the reality of the matter is, you know what's been happening. You're not working. This is what it is. So this is what I'm proposing. And when I say proposing, if I was in the hospitality industry, propose what you think is sustainable, let's say up to the end of the year. And again, I'm being upfront on this. This is not something, I'm not being pessimistic, I'm being pragmatic. This is not something I see ending. That's how I've also been communicating to my team. This is not something I'm expecting to end next month. I wish it could. But especially like the hospitality industry, I mean, it's going to take ages before the borders are open, before the airlines start operating normally. So think about what you can sustainably promise. And hard as it may, you may have to lay off. I definitely see it happening, like in your situation. I see it unfortunately happening in the sense that you will have to unfortunately lay off some staff. And then that also calls for a different level of arrangement and preparing people mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. And you stay with a thin number of staff members and tell them, look, if you find another, but the truth is, if things normalize again, you'll be the first one I'll call. And then financially at the moment, I can afford 1 to 3 things, or I can afford 50% of the salary, or 20%, or 10%, or I can only sustain up to this month. So you have to be upfront. But the key thing is when you're communicating, show empathy, speak in a lower tone, and tell them. And of course, I know like your team, you have a big team, so this is why you would need to also engage like a counselor and at Success Africa, and you can reach out to us, and then we can provide that. We have a team of associates who can do that, because I know like for the hospitality, it is going to be a much longer journey to recover. Therefore, people are going to be really, really hard hit at a mental, emotional, and of course, financial level. So that's how I would go about it. And you're welcome to type in if that answers your question, Goretti. For now, at least. I know it may not answer everything. Okay, and Julia, you can track.
One more question.
Yes, please.
Carlos is asking, what are you doing at a personal level to manage stress and anxiety?
Yeah. Okay.
Great question, Carlos.
Yeah.
Over to you, Ethan.
Okay, that's a great question indeed, Carlos. First of all, I'm planning to do a course or a program on that, on stress management, so to speak, because just as a highlight, I feel moving forward, you might see something from Success Africa. And if you feel it would be useful, please let me know. You can let us know in the chat box. Managing stress and anxiety in a crisis or in uncertain times. So stress, anxiety, fears. For me, that I was sharing, in my view, it is even more costly down the road, long term, than even the virus itself and all that. Because when people are stressed and drained and all that, that affects their immunity dramatically to go lower. So in future, if that's something that you'd want us to expose to you, if you're open to that, please let me know. So what am I doing personally? Number one, I am utilizing this time to to play a little more with my daughter since I'm at home. So to play along with my family, especially my young daughters. So, with young children, they let the stress away. 2, I'm exercising more than ever before, because when you exercise, you get your heart rate up, you make yourself physically stronger. 3, I'm investing in myself much, much, much more. What do I mean by that? I'm investing in programs, coaching programs, audios, videos, reading a lot. I have more coaches now than before, because I believe, and for me, investing in yourself is the biggest investment right now. What I mean by that is, if you do not invest in yourself right now, when this thing ends, then by the time you get back on board, you'll be behind. So I was encouraging one of my latest coaching clients. She was saying, let's wait a bit and see what's happening. I said, look, waiting is not a strategy. Hoping is not a strategy. You have to be on the front foot. So me being able to feed myself on different ideas, different concepts from people I respect, from people I appreciate, is something I've found extremely powerful. And in case you need personalized coaching, you can go to ethanmussolini.com/coaching. Julia could type that in this chat box, or just go to my website, Ethan Mussolini, click on word coaching. It has different options. So for me, just that's something I do. And then the other thing I do is I make sure that I am expressing gratitude every single day. I'm looking for things to be grateful for. And here is another biggie that I shared with one of my coaching clients who is online today. And that is, I minimize the consumption of news. I minimize that. So I'm not even on WhatsApp. You will be shocked. But even if I was on WhatsApp, I would limit how much I'm consuming. So I'm controlling what I'm focusing on, to focus on things, on solutions, to think of solutions like this, because I have to think of solutions. I have to think of ideas, because when you listen to a lot of news and all that, then that becomes extremely discouraging to you. And that lowers your capacity to manage stress. And lastly, I am sleeping more. Because when you sleep more, when you have normal hours of sleep, then it gives you the energy and the capacity to manage whatever else is going on. So I hope, Carlos, that was useful. And then, of course, I make sure I eat the basics. I'm seeing some questions. What do you do in case employees have extremely high expectations from the company or business, but the business is not in position to support? People want food and household items. Martha, that's a good question. Again, it goes back to what I communicated earlier. Just be upfront, be honest, and be short and sharp. Okay.
Ethan,
yes,
there
please.
is one more question, and I feel that this is very pertinent for many of the international NGOs. It was coming in from Martin, and his question was, in a situation where you are a multicultural team, Africans and whites, where appreciation for family settings and their impact on working from home is an issue. How do you handle this? The boss is a white, he has no family here, and the employees who are Africans or Ugandans have families here. How do you lobby for a family-friendly working schedule?
Okay. So this is now what we are going into. We are going into the zone of influence and persuasion. So this is how I would go about it. I would take it this way. I would say, look, and again, I'm saying some two hands. Julia, you could track those and see. I would go about it this way. I would say, look, this is the situation. I know you want us to work and all this. I know you want ABCD to happen. I know all those are good. And at the same time, people are dealing with so much at the moment. So if you really want the most out of the team, I would encourage you to look at the awareness and their well-being. And this is what I recommend. And this is how I believe the organization would benefit. This is how I believe you would benefit. Because sometimes we only look at one picture. And for a leader, if you only look at the well-being of staff and they don't see the connection, how the organization benefits and how the leader benefits, then they won't get it. For example, I would say something along the lines of, see, if we take care of their well-being, they'll be more productive. And once they are productive, the company results or the organizational results will go higher. And once they are higher, you will be the one that is credited with all the positive results. So what I've done there in that moment is not only have I shown the value, how the organization benefits, but how the leader benefits. And I would also say, be persistent, but in a gentle manner. No need for shouting and that kind of thing, okay? So, Ethan, yes, please.
Yes, Anne Gabagaya asks, in case there are some layoffs to be made during this period, How does management go about it, considering the fact that we have to exercise social distancing, and yet some of this communication requires face-to-face from the leadership team, preferably, taking into consideration empathy and emotional intelligence?
Okay, so that's a good question. I mean, for example, if people are not allowed to move, unfortunately, you can't move. So I would go on a Zoom meeting face to face and then switch on video if they are able to. If they are not, we go audio. So the circumstances require that you're not able to do that face to face. If the decision can wait until when people are able to go to work, you could do that. But also, of course, the danger is people would rather know earlier and they start preparing mentally and emotionally than later. So if I know these things require face-to-face, but if circumstances dictate that you can't, then you switch to technology, unfortunately. What else, Julia?
Thank you. Perhaps more or less lastly, we have a question from Shah Akash, and
Okay.
he says, thank you for the presentation. I
You're
would
welcome.
like to ask what mistakes we should not do after market opens, say after 14th April, hopefully, especially to our clients as they are also going through crisis. I know that Shah Akash should be from Philips Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
So just to give you background.
Okay, good. Thank you for that question. And you could check if there are hands, it's as if there were some hands raised. So Shah, that is Shah again? Was that Shah you said, Julia? Okay. So,
yes, that was Akash.
Akash, I beg your pardon, Akash. So
Shah
Shah
yes.
Akash, okay. So that's a great question, Akash. And Julia, I know that we are also working on a program on customer service for, how to manage customers remotely. But some of the things to avoid. Number one, when you call, is don't quickly say, hello, when are we getting our payment? Okay, and that would be the biggest mistake. So number one, first show empathy. Hello, how are you? Good to hear from you. I hope you and your family are fine. How is business? What's going on? Da, 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 da. And then you could ask something along the lines of, okay, so when are you expecting the next order, or when should we expect the payment? So the key thing is do not seem too keen and too quick to close the deal right away, to ask for payment right away. That would be a big mistake. And then also the other thing to be aware of, ask them around how the business environment is like, because then you want to notice or to note how things are. And the other third mistake that you need to be aware of is only promise that which you can deliver, because I know that with the current dynamics, I know shipments and I know medicine, like in your world, is not affected, but just as a general tip for everyone, just to note that when it comes to supplies and materials, you have to be careful not to promise what you cannot deliver, because then again, you have to be aware of the implications and what might happen or not happen down the road. So do not promise that. And then finally, just be sensitive to people's emotions. I expect people to be very stressed, so you have to be calm. Secondly, just be very conscious of that. Show that you care. Thank you cards, calls, WhatsApp messages. I hope you're fine. I hope you're well. Giving them tips on how to manage stress and all that. That will show that you care. And then, so the key thing is, whereas there's physical distancing, I feel we need a lot of emotional closeness and social closeness, so to speak, during this period, not to just stay apart. Any other question, Julia, before we wrap up?
Yes, I must note, we have some legal questions around HR.
Yeah.
And I would like to say that what we can do is get in touch, because again, legal questions have a lot of context. So we may not answer them directly right here. We have some questions from Sheila
Mm.
Rugumayo and Sheila and Sylvia.
Okay.
The legal questions, and then two other related questions, one from Martha Naluvega and Everest.
Okay.
What do you do in case employees have very extremely high expectations from the company or business, but business is not in position to support, e.g. people want food and household items? Then the question from Everest, he says, thank you so much for the excellent webinar, Ethan. Much of the content you've shared is on how an organization can step in both emotionally and financially to support staff. The truth is that financial resources are critical to support staff during this moment. For organizations that are extremely strained in terms of financial resources, to what extent are they able to keep their staff upbeat during a crisis?
Okay, and that is regardless of the okay, there are about three
Without
things.
the finances.
Without the finances. Okay.
Yes.
So first of all, I want to answer the legal part. So if you feel that the legal questions, so to speak, would be very critical, please, what we can do is we could get a lawyer. We have, again, because we're in consulting, we have a broad spectrum of contacts out there. If there are particular professions you'd want to hear from about in regards to this crisis, you can send an email. So now we know there is a need for legal. So Julia will take note of that. We could invite you for a session, because now there could be many implications where the labor laws say A, B, C, D, and given the circumstances, that can't be afforded. So what do you do? And so we can promise to, in the near future, to do something around the legal perspective. And then there was a question around if you can't afford. I believe I must have hinted on it. I mean, just speak the truth, say, you know what, we wish we could do A, B, C, D, but the realities are that we cannot afford this. This is what, you say, we cannot offer ABC, but this is what we can do. So talk about what you can do and what you can offer, and tell them at this stage, the most important thing you're most keen on is keeping their jobs. So not going into these extra opportunities, which will take away a huge chunk of the salary. So you have to be aware of that also. Now, how do you keep the team upbeat? I'll give you a few thoughts. Before upbeat, Rita Chiro, thanks for the, I said, thanks Ethan and team, I'm strengthened because a number of the issues you have talked about are things I have endeavored to do. Well done, Rita, and I'm glad that you're on board on that. Then in terms of what we can do to keep the team upbeat, again, if you look at the emotion side of things, is if you really keep, so even for the smallest of achievements, congratulate them. Say, well done, Joanne, well done, Jane, I saw A, B, C, D. Because most managers I see, they want to communicate when things have not gone right. That's when they want to step up, they want to show that, that they are powerful, and that's not how life works. Instead, I would encourage you to think about, let me actually stop the share and then see if I can do full video. So this is not the time to just show the powers and all that. This is the time to instead be very, very sensitive at an emotional level and say something along the lines of, look, I like you did A, B, C, D. Oh, wow, I like the fact that you did that. That means that you're encouraging. And then if someone brings in something positive, say, okay, so and so proposed proposed ABCD, and I really appreciate that. You notice, for example, I just forgot to mention the name, but the person who came up with the idea for this webinar from Success Africa is Andrew. So I know Andrew is online, so that's, I didn't own. I mentioned that it was from someone else. It wasn't from me. So you have to acknowledge and celebrate people's contributions. That will keep them upbeat. Then the other thing that we've been doing at Success Africa that is useful is to ask, okay, what are you grateful for? What is happening for? What made you smile this morning? So that's what we usually start with at Success Africa. Because again, when you do that, then you stretch beyond, I just need to plug into the power source here. Just give me a second. So you have to ask yourself, okay, what are those things that I can do that would keep the team inspired and motivated? Just let me switch off video for now, just to make sure that we are on the same page. I'm sure you're still hearing me, but finding things like what are you grateful for? What are you happy with? Then when you ask such questions and you make such, people make such contributions, then that alone will get them to feel empowered and happy. So get people to laugh, joke. At Success Africa, we joke a lot, and that also keeps the team upbeat, okay? Hello, Inoda, can you share the recording? Ruth, will do our best to share the recording if I believe there should be a way. How do we keep our leaders of the teams motivated since there will be counselors reaching out to their respective teams? Isabella, well, that's part of what we'll be doing in the program about, so you could raise that in the program, and Julia, you could take note of that question again to emphasize on it. For now, if you have a leadership team below you, of course, they also need that extra support. Tell them, I know it's a challenging time, but as a leader, I trust you. I know you can push through. I know you can find a way, and just keep going. I appreciate you. Just remember, these managers or supervisors, they're also human, just like anyone else. So they also need support and motivation. So, Julia, any other, I can take on one more, and then I tell people how we will wrap this up. And if that's all, then
no more questions, Ethan. No more questions.
Okay, perfect. So team, I would really like to appreciate you again for Success Africa. You can reach out to us at success-africa.com and send an email, info@success-africa.com. Julia's numbers were on the screen. I'm sure you took care of them. And then, of course, in case you need personalized coaching directly from me, you can go to ethanamussolini.com/coaching. You can reach out to our team if there. We could also help you with us talking to your team, either all the staff members or just the management team. We can do a class like this. Just to let you know, in this webinar alone, we've had over 80 staff members, 80 people attended, about over 100 registered, then over 87, 88 or so attended. And you can see we've had a normal session. Therefore, we can hold a big number of people, and we can hold a big number. If there are more than 100, we can also arrange to do that online. It could be all these different skill sets, whether it is stress or communication skills or leadership or working productively at home. We could also customize it just for your team, and just be strong as a leader. I know you're going through a lot. That's why we arranged this for you. We hope this served you, and you're welcome to say, if you want to encourage people out there to reach out to us. If we share this recording with you, please share it with as many people as possible, because we know there are leaders who are wondering, what do I do? Because then motivating employees amidst challenging times is quite tough. And so we really thank you for putting time aside. I know you are leaders and you had to put this time aside. And I would also like to please say kudos to the team for people who have been working in the background, Kabugo, Julia, Pamela, Andrew, Pascal, Samantha, Daniel. All these have been in the background. It's me on the forefront. The face of the organization, so to speak, but that's the team that makes the whole magic come together. So I really would like to thank you once again. May the good Lord bless you. Let's keep praying for each other, for one another. But as leaders, we have to keep going. We have to keep going. We have to keep going no matter what, because that's what leaders for. You step up and then you deliver.